Okay, hey, fourth graders. So we are going to start with math, or we're going to have math now. This is the math video. I guess I don't know which order you're watching them in, so maybe we're not starting with math. Maybe you started with read aloud. So lesson 7, if you had trouble with lesson 6, particularly questions 5, 6, and 7, which were homework, still talking about the locker problems, feel free to come on the Google Meet and I would be happy to talk with you about it. I realized that was kind of it was a tricky problem to start with, and I think we had a little bit of difficulty thinking through it maybe. Hopefully you took home uh, your little sheet where you could kind of keep track of which ones were changing and when they were changing. If you didn't take it home, you might find this difficult. I did, however, share the original form with your parents so that you could go through, and you'd have to redo it, I'm afraid, but you could go through and work it out again and then see if that helps you with 5, 6, and 7. But yeah, that's about all I can think to do other than having you show up at the Google Meet and we can talk about it. So first of all, lesson 7. The warm-up probably doesn't need a whole lot of introduction. It is just doing division. So find the value of each quotient mentally. They don't want you to sit there, and some of you probably remember the long division. So they don't want you to do, I think the first one is 12 divided by 4. No, 12 divided by 3. So they don't want you to do this, even though here you're still going to have to figure it out mentally, just because there's no way to do long division with this. There's just a single number answer. If you have not had a whole lot of experience with division before, so if you have numbers that look like 12 divided by 3 equals blank, which is what we have, hopefully that shows up. Looks like it does, though maybe a little bit in the sun or the light reflection. So remember, division, kind of like subtraction, is kind of the opposite. The inverse is what we say in math, but it's the opposite of addition. Division is the opposite of multiplication. So if you had a multiplication sentence, it would look like this. So if you're having trouble when you're looking at it this way, think of it this way, and then tell me mentally. Well, don't tell me mentally, but write down what the answer is that hopefully you can figure out just with mental math. So that's the warm-up. We won't go through each of those because there's not really anything I can do to help you with that in terms of like teaching you anything. So 7.1, this is now page 30. So that was page 29. We're on page 30. Number 1, and there's 1 and 2. But number 1 is big and number 2 is just short, and you don't have a partner, so you're going to have to just kind of write down your thoughts on this. But for number 1, it says complete a statement using the word factor and a statement using the word multiple for each number. So for number 1, or for the first one, it says 10, and then under factor, so if we have, so this is 10. Let me see, I'm going to see real quick if that is, no, okay, that doesn't look like it's in the corner. All right, so 10. It's got a box, right? It goes over here. Above it says factor. Okay, so blank is a factor of blank because and then there's some space below. So let me check real quickly here. I just want to make sure that I know exactly what they want you to give. Okay, cool. That's what I hoped for. So what they want you to do is on this first line is they want you to write this number. So I'm going to go with, we'll go red. So 10, hopefully that shows up. 10 is a factor of blank because, and then reasons. So first thing we have to ask is, what is 10 a factor of? Which means that we have to know what a factor is. hopefully those of you who are out there in internet land are saying, oh, I know what a factor is. A factor is two numbers, or more than numbers, but numbers that you multiply together to get an answer in a multiplication problem, right? So 10 is a factor of what? Well, any number that 10 can be multiplied times another number to equal would work. So we could say 10 is a factor of 20. And then why is 10 a factor of 20? Well, now here is simply because 10 times 2 equals 20. Okay? And you didn't have to pick 20. You could have picked 30, you could have picked 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, a million, 10 million, a billion, whatever number you wanted to pick. Picking really big numbers might not fit on that little line though, so probably better to pick a number that's easier to work with. So that's the factor part. Now I don't have enough room to draw it out, so I'm going to have to erase here and here. So now this is the multiple . And for this one, now it would make sense to say, well, 10 is a multiple of blank because actually it still works. There's kind of two different ways that you could do this that would both be accurate. So you could put 10 here. Oh, sorry, this should say multiple. And hopefully I wrote that down. Blank is a multiple of blank. Okay, good. All right, so 10 is a multiple of what number? Well, remember, multiples are basically skip counting, right? So 10 is a number or a multiple of something that is smaller than 10, right? So when we're doing factors, we're saying 10 times such and such equals, whatever. 10 times 2 equals 20, right? So 10 is one of the factors of 20. Well, here we're saying 10 is a multiple of some other number. So we want a smaller number that when you skip count by that smaller number, it equals 10. Or when you multiply that smaller number times another number, it equals 10. So think of two numbers that we could multiply together to equal 10. Well, 10 is a multiple of, obviously all numbers are multiples of 1, right? So we could have used 1. Okay, we could have used 2, because 2 times 5 equals 10. We couldn't use 3, we couldn't use 4, but we could use 5. And then we can also use 10. So you could have written any of these numbers and it would have worked. So let's pick, we'll say 5. Don't pick 1 or 10. So don't pick the where you're multiplying it times 1. That's kind of cheater. So 10 is a multiple of 5 because 5 times 2 equals 10. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to take a look here at the book really quickly just to make sure that I'm telling you the right way. Yeah. So the other way that you could have said this, of course, is that, so they kind of left this, the way they worded it is you can do it two different ways. And this is true of the factors as well, right? So we could say that 10 is a factor of 20, but we could just as easily say 2 is a factor of 10. That still would be accurate. So here, if we put 10 down here, so now we want multiples of 10. Well, that's skip counting by 10. So we could say 70. 70 is a multiple of 10 because 7 times 10 equals 70. Okay. So either way is fine. I will accept both of them. So no big deal there. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like there's 8 or 9 of them. 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 of them. Cool. So do those 8. So you've got 10, 7, 50, 16, 35, 20, 19, and 6 all to do. So after you're done with those, the next part says, number 2, as you compare statements with your partner, discuss one thing you notice and one thing you wonder. You don't have partners, so that's not going to work. If you come on the Google Meet, however, we can discuss that, and we'll go over this as well. I would love to be able to do like individual Google Meets with everybody where you can kind of go through things that you wonder, things that you don't. So if at the very least, if you don't have a partner and you don't have anybody else that you can talk to, just kind of take a look at these things and come up with something that maybe you notice about it or maybe you wonder about it. And then, so 7.2, which is the next 31 and 32, which are kind of the next 2 pages, is a game. Again, if you have a sibling or a parent who will play with you, that sort of thing, you can play the game. But basically, what you're going to do is the first person to go, so partner 1, is going to choose an even number that is less than 50 and cover it with a counter and record the number on the recording sheet. You don't have a recording sheet, so you're just going to have to write it somewhere underneath because we didn't have recording sheets. And also, you probably don't have counters unless you have like buttons or something that you just happen to have at the house. But what you can do instead is you can, put like your first initial on the ones that were yours, and then the other person can put their first initial, assuming you don't have the same first initial. If you do, then I don't know, draw a star or something, and they can do circles or whatever. Or if you only want to play once, I guess you can exit out, and then they can like put a cross through it or something. So partner 1 picks an even number that is less than 50 and covers it with a counter. Partner 2 chooses a number to cover, so they can cover anything. The number must be a factor or multiple of the first number. I'm sorry, they can't choose anything. So partner 1 picks any even numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, etc., even numbers, right? Pick one of those. And then partner 2 is going to choose a number to cover. The number must be a factor or multiple of the first number. So let's say I pick 10, okay? 10 is an even number. If I pick 10, then partner number 2 is going to either do 1, because 1 is a factor of 10, 2, because 2 is a factor of 10, 5, because 5 is a factor of 10, or they can't do 10 because you've already chosen that one, but they could do 20, 30, 40, 50, wait, where does it go to? Yep, all the way up to 100, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, right? So they can cover any of those. Then, let's see, take turns covering and recording on each turn number. Okay, so let's say that they picked 100, right? Because 100 is a multiple of 10. Then it is your turn, and you have to pick, you can't pick a multiple because there's no 200, so you have to go factor. So you might pick a factor of 100, let's say 25. All right, so they covered 100 after you covered 10. Now you cover 25, and then they have to pick either a multiple or a factor. So they might do, again, they could do 1, they could do 5. Those are the factors that are left because then the other one is 25. Or they could go 50 or 75 as the multiples. So you just kind of keep going until you have get to the point where there's no factors and there's no multiples left. And once you get to that point, then whoever, if it's your turn, you can't find anything that works, then they win a point or win the round. And if it is if it's their turn and they can't find anything, then you win the round, so you get a point. And you can kind of keep going back and forth for as long as you want to play and see who wins. But yeah, so anyway, that's it for math. So it's actually kind of an easy math day. There's really just there's 8 things to do, okay? The compare your statements with a partner, discuss one thing you notice and one thing you wonder. I guess that's technically another thing to do. So there's 9 problems really to do. Of course, 1 through 8, there's 2 sides to it, but they're relatively easy. So this should be a pretty easy one to do. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. Make sure, again, to check in with me. I will be happy to help you with the locker problem if you're struggling with that, or if you need some help understanding lesson 7, I'll be happy to help you with that. Yeah, but make sure you check in so that I can get you recorded as being in class present. So awesome. Have a great day, guys. I will see you later. Bye.